This is currently, and I've just tested it, able to run YouTube and do all the things I need it to need, not all the things I want, but need, in order to be able to make YouTube usable, and I don't have to compromise on anything right now. It's slower because I did a bunch of add-ons. It's not as fast as it should be. And this is using the 64-bit version of the portable download instead of the 32-bit version, which might run faster. Depending on which system problems you have, a 32-bit or 64-bit version will work better. And I use portable versions because they have the least ability to get up to some chicanery in the background. By default, they don't break as easy. First thing I did after downloading it is just dump it to a directory. In this case on the desktop, and it's just called Portable Pale Moon in this case. I can rename that directory at any time because when you run the program, you run it from within the directory. You can also just use a hot link to it. But when you do that, it runs the program as if it's starting flat-footed. It doesn't know where it's located at. The first thing I did is I went into about config, which is a sudo address you put in to force it to let you have access to all the hidden configurations. I did these first. To get rid of the little button up here that says subscribe to web page for some reason, I don't use RSS feeds, so I don't want that up there. It doesn't need to be there. Normally it's in the bookmarks bar. What I did was I told it browser URL bars or URL bar RSS feed equals false. It's a setting within about config. The next one is URL bar again, trimURLs, true. Now you can set that true or false. I need it to look like this. I need it to not alter it. So normally I would say false. And browser.urlbar.formatting.enabled, false or true depending on what you want to use. These settings are simply sitting there just because I know I manipulated them and this is what they were either by default or I set them for. But the point is, those are the ones you might want to mess with to make this as cluttered or uncluttered as you like. The next one is the set favorite or bookmark it or star button. That's in another part of this. They don't put it in there where I can edit it easily. Now, in order to do all the other alterations I did to this, I had to enable a new entry under About Config called Toolkit, Legacy, User, Profile, Customizations, Style Sheets. Style Sheets allow you to literally rip apart the user interface you're looking at up here and do all sorts of crazy things. The funny part is, I didn't have to do any of that. By definition, I want a web browser that lets me do a one-liner, as this is called, where literally everything is put on one line. I'd even make it hidden if I could, because I want as much visual real estate here to work with as possible. And it let me get away with it. But the main thing is, I only did this style sheet customization because one feature was buried and they didn't want to get rid of it, and that's the bookmark button. So anyway, after I enabled that, I'm allowed to do a user Chrome CSS. You go to About Support page, look in the Profile folder button, open the folder, and look under Chrome, and you'll find userChromeExample.css. And you can edit that, and you save it as just user Chrome CSS. And these are the entries. The first one has to be this long line. Don't get me started. I don't know why. It just has to be. I'll try to leave this information in the description if possible. The next thing is I told it star button, display none of them important. That means turn off the star button, which is the favorites button and or bookmark button. Page proxy-favicon, identity icon labels, and tracking protection icon box. These are things that are obviously, if you look them up, are necessary. They tell you what the status of the website is. However, this version of Firefox, like all of them at the time, was very heavy-handed about taking up as much of that address bar as possible to annoy the hell out of me, so I turned all those off. The main one I turned off was the favorite button. Now, so far I want to point out that all of this work right here isn't needed if you don't need those changes. They're not. The URL bar formatting, not needed. Trim URLs, you don't have to mess with it. You can even leave the RSS button there. This is what I did here because I'm greedy, I want this entire address bar under my control. I don't like anything I can't just enable and disable. And I have been at kind of a war with Firefox, Mozilla Firefox's crew, and unfortunately now the people at Moonchild Productions who made Pale Moon, for not giving me the right to control what my web browser does completely. Okay, enough preaching. Next thing is that After you do that, this web browser does leave traces on the computer you run it from. A portable browser isn't supposed to, but it leaves a directory under app data, that's %appdata%, Moonchild Productions, and or Mozilla, and it'll have Pale Moon and other references. If there's 0 bytes, all it does is prove that you used it on your computer, which that's maybe not something you care about. Again, this is me being picky. It shouldn't do that because there is no technical reason for that. There really isn't one. Just like there isn't a technical reason for giving me control over the entire web browser interface, but leaving in up here an RSS feed I don't want, and by the way, isn't supported anymore pretty much, and a favorites button or a bookmark button that I didn't want, as well as putting in the CSS data, the SSL data and how secure the website is, instead of just putting in a standard padlock like everybody uses. It's annoying. And not being able to turn it off because they desperately want to beat you over the head with being secure really bugs me. I don't like lawyers writing software. Anyway, other websites besides palemoon.org that you'd have to reference are GitHub, Justoff, and then PM27 SDK add-ons. This is to give you access to the thousands and thousands of add-ons that went extinct once Mozilla Firefox's team decided to screw over literally hundreds and thousands of people who had written add-ons and plugins to solve our problems. Yes, I'm going to be a little bit vindictive about it. And then there's the CIA archive releases, etc. Those are the pages. And this is Greasy Fork YouTube Auto 144p because I felt like being obnoxious. Don't run it, but I think it's funny that I could force YouTube to use the lowest resolution possible and not have an excuse. That's what I had to do to test YouTube until I started loading up some of my other hacks. Now I'm going to show you the progress here really quickly. Here's the About Config page, and I had to look for Toolkit Legacy User Profile Customization Style Sheets. And I set it true by making this by going right-click, New, Boolean, that means yes or no, and then I set it to true. And if I get rid of that, you'll see a bunch of other settings that I didn't put in, but other settings that they put in as user set. Some of these are actually ones I did, like, well, it doesn't matter. There's too many of them to go through, so let's skip that. But I didn't do most of these, oddly enough, this time. Troubleshooting information is about :support, application basics, and then you hit open folder, and then you go into Chrome, and this is the user Chrome example you edit, and this is, again, the one I edited. I created this one, and again, it says, Keymaster, Gatekeeper, there is only Zool. That's a reference to Ghostbusters. And here is the star button. Don't display it. Page proxy icon, identity icon, and tracking protection icons. Turn them off. And yes, I just altered it. It doesn't hurt anything. And instead of it being saved as user Chrome example, I saved it as user Chrome CSS. And there it is again. And if I hit refresh, it should show that change I just made. And, or it doesn't. Oh, wait a minute, no, that's a backup copy. Anyway, never mind. Let's move on. This is the About Memory tab. If you're using an older version of Firefox, you want to have it. About :memory gives you the memory clear-up tab. Here's garbage collection here. Here's cycle collection. And here's minimize memory use. Send 3 heap minimize notifications in a row to just scrag the memory. So I'm going to hit them. And it'll go down from 1 gigabyte of usage down to half a gig pretty quickly. Now we're going to go to Add-ons Manager. The ones I turned on, these are add-ons that I added to it, were Grease Monkey for Pale Moon, so I could do the other hacks that are really hard to do, that are more modern, but won't work in the older version of the browser. So a lot of add-ons or extensions, like let's say this one here for cookies, you can put it in as a Grease Monkey script as well. So I use that as a way to get around the fact that Pale Moon is too old to run newer stuff. uBlock Origin version 1.16 seems to work just fine. The I Don't Care About Cookies version 3 is necessary because I don't want to be nagged about cookie agreements. And here's the classic add-ons archive I'll get to in a second. When you type in YouTube, which is the primary one I'm going to need add-ons to clean up and fix and shut up, I'm going to go to their add-ons, palemoon.org, search terms YouTube, and immediately look for YouTube hacks. And this is the reason the website is so behind the times. Because it doesn't support virtually any add-ons and nobody's writing new ones, because it's the older browser type and it's been defunct, the only way to get around it was to load on, as you may have noticed, GreaseMonkey. And under GreaseMonkey, it's not running some script to do some project. It's disabling autoplay next video that YouTube uses so they can fake you wanting to watch certain videos and get money for selling advertising on it. That's all it is. You can't turn it off. They get very aggressive about it. And they get pissy when you load an add-on. They try to crash my browser. They will to you as well. Turn off YouTube annotations and don't change my video quality are the three things. And again, instead of getting an extension, which would be nice, I have to use these scripts. The scripts will run slower. They will make the browser run slower. On the website it affects. All of these are set to affect youtube.com. So the Pale Moon add-ons are dead, so one of the add-ons I could get was this one. And it's Classic Add-ons Archive, otherwise known as Legacy Add-ons. The browser here, being based on Firefox 20-something or 30-something, is so old, at least in the base level, that it can't load any new add-ons. But there's 3 pages of add-ons here controlling behavior on YouTube. And I just tried the latest ones by sorting it by recently updated or newest uploads. And I got access to things that are not 5 years old anymore. Some of these are less than 6 months old. And this is YouTube, and it loads slower. If I go to the main page here by going to youtube.com, I'm not logged in, so it doesn't give me a blank page. And if I hit reload, you can see the anti-progress bar. It's stuck halfway. And that's it running into the GreaseMonkey scripts and the add-ons, telling it to filter out every shorts video and every other annoyance, like their promoted videos and you might like this and trending. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that the web browser doesn't deliberately harass me over things. Really basic stuff like I don't want it to just screw around with things. And as you can see, the website, it's not the browser, the website is being very aggressive about trying to load it with a bunch of stuff I've blocked. And now it's giving me what would be considered a normal YouTube homepage of stuff. And it's based on the fact that I typed in, okay, I admit it, I typed in diggy diggy hole. You can't stop me. So anyway, let's click a video, a random one. I'm going to do Weeble stuff because he's notorious for not flagging people for letting you look at it yourself watching a video. He's actually said he'll never do that, so I don't have to worry about that. Other websites, who knows? Now you can see the anti-progress bar gets kind of stuck a bunch of times. It's very slow. I know that. But the fact that I can get a one-liner and get it to not do any annoyances so far is great. I haven't seen it run a single ad. But now it's doing that infamous 5-second delay, but it does it at the beginning. And I'm going to hit mute. Now, first of all, when I go here and hover, if I can get it to load, you notice how it's aggressively refusing to load the user interface for the website. Because this is the punishment YouTube uses if you block ads or just try to get it to where it doesn't change your video quality. And it's still not completely loading the video. It's crap. Narwhals. Okay, let me pause the narwhal video. Okay, now it's loaded. It took it that long. It runs the video, but it gets aggressive about me trying to use the website without Her Majesty's permission. So I hit settings, it turned on annotations, it fought back. Okay, I can't fix that. But it doesn't do the autoplay next video, and the video resolution is set the same way I set it. Even though the GreaseMonkey scripts here for controlling these things, like fix the video quality, even though they have no user interface here that shows up because they don't work properly, they do actually do what they're supposed to, which is if I set it this way, it remembers I said 480. Even though it says auto 480, when I do that, it's still 480. It's actually remembering I told it to keep it at or near 480. I don't know how well it'll work for you, so let's review. To get an interface that lets me have more control over it, that has less control for corporations, and that lets me load up uBlock Origin and actually block the damned ads on YouTube.